First and foremost, you have given me a tough task to speak after my Guruji. Guruji, I was reminded of unanimous. We were unanimous in terms of your choice. And you proved us right. Your great programs like Nidhi, Sadhi, what you did during COVID time. What is personally close to my heart is, of course, as you know, National Innovation Foundation, grassroots. And idea was million minds augmenting national aspiration and knowledge. I think the scale of thinking that we could do was really unimaginable, and it was a pleasure and a privilege for us to sort of participate in this massive program enlightening the entire young people, the young generation. And finally, as INSA president, I can from first hand say you have made sort of great difference. Your initiative to honor those who do science for society, not just write papers. Your initiative for science in translation, without that, will not have the products that Professor Sharma was talking about, are great initiatives, and there is so much more that you have done. So all our blessings to you, and my wish would be that in the next 35 years, so 65 plus 35 is 100, as you can understand. So I am saying sometimes Shiva, but in the next 35 years, you should be able to do more than what you have done in the last 65 years. So thank you very much for thinking of me for participation in this. Now what I am going to do is to talk about something somewhat different from Professor Sharma. And that is to use science as an exponential inspirator, but in a different sense. Because I'm going to look at Vikasit Bharat at 100, and my challenge is that Bharat and India, they live next to each other. For example, here you can see India at 75 in tall buildings, and here you see Bharat living in jhuggies. And if you see what happens in those jhuggies, here there are some of them who don't have proper dwelling and they live in a pipe, alright, that is being laid. And you can see this little girl, her mother, in Bharat at 75, she is preparing her daughter for Bharat at 100. These are the scenes that are real and we can't ignore them. So I'm going to talk about that particular Bharat and what can we do about it. You know, when we had the COVID-19, the digitally deprived schools committed suicide for not being able to attend online classes because their parents couldn't afford a smartphone or iPad or tablet or whatever. Maharashtra, 15-year-old girl, Punjab, class 11 student, Kerala, 16-year-old student, Karnataka, 15-year-old student, West Bengal, class 10 student, Assam, 15-year-old student. Can you imagine a class 10 student plotting his own suicide? Why? Why? Because they did not have the access to what they should have legitimately had because of our sharp inequality. So the question I'm going to raise is that can we create the magic of access equality despite income inequality? Looks impossible, isn't it? If you are rich, you can buy everything. If you are poor, you can buy nothing. Now, the problem is with our current innovation systems. What we do is more from more, and that becomes for less and less people. So this is like making high technology work for the rich. So today we have iPhone 15, then we will have iPhone 20, and the rest of it, the prices will keep on increasing and less people will be able to afford it. Then the other paradigm we have is less from more and more people, making low technology work for the poor, jugaad, knockdown products, and so on and so forth. So, innovation for MML increases inequality. Innovation for LLM increases inequality. But look at this, more progress for more people. MLM, that is making high technology work for the poor. All right? So when we say more for less, as engineers we are always doing for more profit. I'm not talking about more profit. I'm talking about bringing benefits to more and more people. I said, I used this more from less for more people. In 2008, when I was elected as a fellow of Australian Academy of Science Technology, and I titled it as Gandhi Engineering, related it in some way to what Gandhiji has said. There is enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. That means use less and less resources to preserve them for the future, and the benefits of science must reach the poorest of the poor, that will for more and more people. Now, what happened was that in 2010, we wrote a paper, the legendary C.K. Prahlad and I, in Harvard Business Review, and this now finds a place in the 10 must-read papers in innovation. The impact of this paper, which appeared in July, was such that World Economic Forum had a theme on committing to improving the state of the world, and they had a special session on more from less for more. Within 6 months, they could see the importance of this. And I myself, I'm a bit of a crazy girl. Once I get something into mind, I just keep on talking about it. Like I used to talk about patterns. People would not call me Mashelkar, they would call me pattern. Anyway, so this message of MLM, it started in Canberra when I was given that fellowship. I remember speaking in World Bank in Washington, and they brought that because inclusive innovation was the key to challenge the rising inequalities. I remember speaking in Manila in World Bank, and they created a special program on MLM. I remember speaking in Europe, in Brussels, for example. I was invited by the European Commission. And in their Horizon 2020 program, they included the MLM-related programs as a key part. Beijing gave a keynote there in the World Bank, held workshop, and then in Europe at several places. Tokyo, they were talking about sustainable development goals, and one of the things they saw, because if you look at a number of sustainable development goals, we have the challenge of doing things for the poor. And MLM just fitted in there, so they had invited me there. Colombo, Cape Town, Medellin, in the Vitro Symposium, and so on and so forth. So I spread it around the world. And actually, the net result of this has been a book that is hitting the market in the next week or so. This is called More from Less for More. Innovation's Holy Grail. I call it Holy Grail because, as you understand, Holy Grail is something almost impossible to read. But the basic point there is this formula. You know, M, the more you want, the more you can get if you innovate. Then L, using less and less and less resources. That requires imagination, that requires innovation. And also it can be zero L. Like Google, they allow the search free, zero. Salman Khan, he allowed access to education at zero cost, and so on. And you can see the differences that you can achieve sort of anything. That's the theme that I'm going to push forward. Now, I will take only one sector on which I have been concentrating during the last 13, 14 years after my retirement. And can MLM strategies solve India's healthcare challenges? What are our challenges? Limited access, lack of affordability, limited infrastructure, lack of quality, limited skilled human resource. There are no nurses, doctors in villages, and lack of awareness. Now, you can see the cost of lack of affordable screening or diagnosis. Remember, I am saying more from less for more. That less part, affordability part, and ultra affordability part is very important. For example, look at the expenses for diagnosis and treatment as the stage of breast cancer. Now, if you detect it early enough, there you are. But if you detect it later and later, the costs go up. So if diagnosis is done early, the expenses for a given patient will be less than 1/10 of the cost of the vital, and the government can save more than 90% of its healthcare treatment or budget. What I'm talking about is that in the entire healthcare issue, I'm just looking at the screening and diagnosis, because early screening is the key. Knowing what is happening to you early and why it is happening is most important. Now, India needs eminent paradigm to solve the healthcare challenge. Why? First, it has to be affordable. Low cost to be enjoyed by people across all income segments. Okay, whether you are in a Jugi that I showed or a 5-star. Second, it has to be accessible in remotest parts of the country with no dependence on proximity to cities. A woman cannot go to the hospitals and get breast screening, breast cancer screening done. So can she do it where she is? Looks impossible, but I'll show you how this has been made. Secondly, there is no compromise on high quality. You know, healthcare of excellent quality and performance using the highest technologies all the time, making high technology work for the best. Then user-friendly products and services that are user-friendly, irrespective of individual scale and levels. Even a villager should be able to operate it. Then integrated, multiple devices integrated into one unified offering to cover holistic health screening. And finally, we have to go digital, because entirely digital that eliminates human errors and ensuring real-time data capturing and output. These are all 6 things. Look very difficult, but they have been all achieved. And they have been all achieved under this Mashelkar, Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. I created in my mother's name an Mashelkar Foundation. And the idea is to give access equality despite income inequality. I'm not a great believer in best practice, because best practice means you are following somebody else. I'm a believer in the next practice. So all these awards that we give are only to the next practice. And these are the winners from 2011 to 2024. And I would not have time to describe what each one of them has done, but I assure you, all of them represent affordable excellence. All of them represent the next practice. And all of them have created things which are ultra affordable, not affordable. Not 10% less, 10 times less, 100 times less. And all of them have gone global, by the way. Their products are there everywhere. I'll just say that it is about bringing smiles on million faces, not just chasing $1 million. We just heard about startups, yes. I would like to see unicorns, yes. I'd like to see more millionaires. But at the same time, I'd like to see innovation which doesn't change $1 million, but brings smiles to the million faces, which changes values and not valuations. And these are all models of that. And these are the kind of disruptive and game-changing innovations probably done. It brings speed, because things that take hours are done in seconds. It brings scale, because many of them have gone to 15, 20, 25, 30 countries. And sustainability. I'll give some examples, like this IITS exam, breast cancer screening device. You know, what you see here can be just moved around the test, and it is painless, radiation-free, operable by primary care providers, instant results at POC and mobile units. Now you can see the best practice of mammography, painful, all right, radiation, and the rest of it. And this is IITS exam. So if you see the equipment cost, 80 lakh reducing to 6 lakh. Assessment cost 1500 to 2000 reducing to 150. And the results taking 30 minutes to just instant. You can see this is the next factor. This is what I mean by the next factors. And low cost tactile sensor measures tissue stiffness because it's real time, non-invasively, and without pain. And of course, there is no use making devices if they are not FDA approved and all the other certifications. They have been all approved around the world. And Lancet actually wrote a special paper on the scientific validation of this, and they said this is one of the best non-invasive devices to detect cancer. What has been the impact? 2 million plus scans supplied in 20 countries, 6.5 lakh women scanned worldwide. And in India, it is moving very rapidly. 1 lakh women in Goa, 1 lakh in Maharashtra, 25,000 in Gujarat in door-to-door model, and 8 lakh currently ongoing in the place. So it is making a difference. It is not just an idea, it is the impact that matters. And you can see the difference. The IMF blog, I want to, by the way, I'm maybe that no lecture is covering unless you want to talk about artificial intelligence. So I'm not going to be an exception. So there is an IMF blog, how artificial intelligence could widen the gap between rich and poor nations. Somebody said 3 reasons why AI may widen global inequality. Will AI solve the world's inequality problem or make it worse? Or artificial intelligence a blessing or a curse or just a brutal? It depends upon what we do with AI. And AI has done a lot of good in terms of our global health problems. Here is an example. This is TRASA. What is TRASA? It is a software and medical device solution that offers early screening of respiratory problems. And it uses AI-powered analysis of cough sounds to detect and monitor respiratory health. That means cough has been made as a marker and the audiometry has been trained by AI. So it is in real time, you just cough for 15 seconds. Inexpensive, just takes 1 rupee, just 1 rupee for assessment. Scalable, because 100 million assessments are possible, because everybody has a mobile phone. Unbound, because there are no consumables. It is accessible, because available anywhere. That means a woman in a village near Ratnagiri can cough, and the best expert in Pune can assess whether she has a TB or not. And easy to operate, even for semi-skilled workers. And you can see now the best practice and the next practice, the difference. If you see the best practice, the equipment is 1.5 lakh. Here it is 0, because you already have it. Assessment cost here is around 1,000 rupees, here it is 1 rupee. And the time for results is 90 minutes, and here it is. This is what Indian innovation has to be. It cannot be innovation, it has to be disruptive, game-changing innovation. And what difference does it make? You can see that normally it's so difficult to get a paper in Nature, and we do a lot of tom-tomming as soon as you get a paper in Nature. This Shrasa has 2 papers in Nature, plus in all these other advanced journals and so on and so forth. They did not require a PhD. They did not require going to other institutions. The sheer genuineness and creativity of the papers of their work for them. This is my dream. This is my dream. I don't want innovation. I want high science, high technology based sort of creations which help all. And of course, they have got all the certifications that they will be able to sort of operate. And the more impact is that 3 lakh plus assessments have been done, and scans are being in real time. Ability to build TB registry on a country level, because TB is coming back in a big way. The most important part is that if a laborer has to go for TB test, he loses a day's wage. No, the device comes to you. You just come into it, and there is the answer. This is something very special about India that we have to realize when we look at the bottom of the pyramid. Another example I will give you of artificial intelligence review. SEVMO. This is an IoT-based maternal care platform that provides continuous monitoring and AI-based early risk prediction. And the platform offers care for a pregnant mother and her child for 1,000 days. What is the solution? There is a wearable. The wearable uses PPG sensors for continuous data monitoring of steps taken, calories, sleep patterns, etc. And then there is a device that is given to health workers that periodically records the vitals. And this is a platform AI-based decision support system that comes up. And the role of AI here in the platform is trained on data of thousands of mothers. And you can see now, the current practice is this: you queue up invasive, expensive way of health monitoring only at the hospital or labs. There is series after discovering three last trimester. Here, it is real-time monitoring of vitals and key parameters in a non-invasive manner, predicting high-risk pregnancy in the first trimester by the through intelligent tracking and processing of health parameters. See the cost difference: 5,000 to 50,000 per year, 2,000 for 1,000 days, because it has both pregnant mother and child. 1 rupee per day. All right. And results, here you spend few hours a day, and here it is history. That is what I mean by best practice to these practice. The impact is it has onboarded 3.6 million women on the platform, assisted 25,000 successful deliveries, partnered with 4 state governments, and as we speak, 1 lakh pregnant women are being screened. The most important part is, like I showed you paper in Nature, Harvard Business School actually published a case study on Save More. I think that is something very, very credible indeed. There is this Sanket Live Augusta, which is disruptive innovation, where you just have a device which is just the size of a book or credit card. It connects wirelessly and costs 1/10 of conventional ECG machine and provides 12 lead ECG in 2 minutes. Reports are instantly shareable with doctors remotely. 3 million ECGs in 12 countries have been recorded. It has been approved all over the world, and it is a pocket-sized ECG, empowering every villager to have the right fraud assessment in emergency. You don't have to sort of run here and there. I'll just give you 3 examples. I will not be having time to do this, but I would say that IIT Foundation just doesn't give recognition. It has created instruments of funding support for investors. It's very important because venture capitalists have become vulture capitalists. They want sort of returns within 3 years, and these will not give you those. So you require special sort of partnership. Commercial banks, they can't go to, and therefore we have created special instruments. And I must thank TRIPS-2025 Foundation for doing it. They are our partners. Government partnership, we are integrating with governments for scaling. There is outreach deployment program. We give access to basic research and technology infrastructure, connecting them, and access to quality talent from academic institutions, so that so this is a big network that is getting sort of formed. And finally, an integrated point of care screening kit. This kit called FX, Affordable Excellence Kit. This has all the key components, like what you saw, cover 30+ parameters across 10+ conditions, completely non-invasive, unlike most click-based solutions, portable point of care, completely digital, no manual entry, instant. It is integrated with intelligent digital platforms, offering visualization through modular dashboards, and is ultra affordable. And you can just imagine if ASHA workers are empowered with this, what difference it can make. In fact, it can lead to business sort of generation also. I won't have time to explain because it's Bharat Act 100. I think the first is expansion, inclusion, and excellence. I remember I was a member of Miley committee when IITs, you remember, there was this entire issue of inclusion. But I remember my saying that yes, expand we must. Why 6 IIT for a country for 1.4 billion? We must have more. We must have inclusion, included the experience, but excellence we cannot compromise. In fact, that became actually the cover page, by the way, of the report. The second is speed, scale, sustainability. The amount of time that we take has to be reduced very significantly. The scale has to be increased because India is a big country and sustainable. Digitalization is going to be the key. Decentralization and decarbonization. In fact, I would have added decarbonization also here, debureaucratization also here, because that is what this series on ease of doing science that is going on. I gave a keynote in Ahmedabad just a couple of weeks ago, and unless we improve our processes in terms of recruitment, procurement, and so on and so forth, nothing can happen. I know that the government is taking some good steps. I encourage them. In my presentation, I also said what can we do better, because that is extremely important. And finally, talent, technology, and trust. You know, talent in abundance. In fact, Atalji used to say India's future is in IT, IT is in Indian talent. I also say India's future is in IT, but IT as in Indian talent, like the one that is sitting in front of me, IIT. Technology, yes, we are mastering it. But trust, I think our major problem is trust deficit. All the system processes are based on the fact that somebody will be cheating. That is not all. And that affects everything. In fact, I was just talking to Professor Sharma about something which I will explain in the last slide. I think to build Vikasit Bharat, Indian science must have high aspirations. Many of you might have read my book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, creating the magic of radical and sustainable transformation. In fact, I was talking to Mukesh Ambani. I've been the chairman of their innovation council, and one day he said, "Doc, we must leapfrog." Something I don't remember what it was. I said, Mukesh, do you want? Do you know why the frog leaps? He said, no. I said, he leaps because he's afraid of the predator and jumps a few feet. Do you want to be afraid of your competitor and jump a few feet and then move? You must pole vault. You must pole vault, and the sign of the pole is your aspiration. This won the Best Business Book of the Year award in 2019. And it has become quite popular. And the other book which has become a national bestseller is Experiment. I love exponentials, by the way. All right? Because linear progress will not help us. We must move exponentially. And I think this is being accepted. Nitin Gokhale's interview in General Bipin Rawat is unfortunately no more. He had read the book and he said, time has come to move from leapfrogging to pole vaulting. Not just for the nation, but for our science. And Vikasit Bharat will be built by inspired Bhartiyas in 100. I'm 83 now, so I've learned a lot in my life, not just by succeeding, but by failing. So here are 5 Mashelkar mantras for those young people who are sitting up there. My first mantra, which has worked for me, is aspirations are your possibilities, keep them high. But for you and also for our society, our beloved nation. You know, young Mukesh, at the age of 8, said, I will be the youngest world champion in chess and Indian. That is the aspiration. Secondly, you can do anything but not everything, so focus. Third, purpose, perseverance and passion. Too early to quit. Winners are never quitters, quitters are never winners. Fail, you should take it as a first attempt in learning. In fact, your best guru is your last mistake as long as you learn from it. The fourth one is when doors of opportunity that you keep on knocking don't open. Create your own doors. And here I will give you an example of what it is. I returned to the country in 1976. I was trained in non-Newtonian fluid mechanics and rheology. I wanted a Weisenberg reactor model R18, I still remember. And it would take me 2 years because DGTD clearance not manufactured in India. Country was a small country. It had hardly $80. So that door was not opening. What did I do? I said, what is the equipment God has given me? My mind. and I moved to modeling and simulation. 1977, I started to work. In 82, I got Bhatnagar place. If I was waiting, I would be still waiting. All right. So I opened my own doors. Please always remember that. And finally, no limit to human endurance, achievement, imagination, accepting the ones you put on your mind. So, therefore, no matter what we achieve, you can always achieve something better. And I would say that every morning, whether you are 18 or 80, say my best is yet to come. And today is going to be that day. And if 1.4 billion people do that, you can just imagine what India would be at the top of the Committee of Nations. The last slide is because Professor Sharma was my guru, who has been everything for me, and whatever I am is because of him. He's here. I thought I will put in this slide. And this slide is very interesting. You see Professor Sharma and myself. You know, there are only 4 FRSs from India for work done in India in the last 365 years, and 2 of us are here, and both are standing in the same book that Newton has signed. My question to you is that when Vikasit Bharat at 100 happens, will that number remain 4, or why can't it become 40? And there comes the crux about the science we do. I myself was on the selection of FRS for 3 years, section committee on engineering. And there is a simple criteria they use, not your citation index and impact factor, this, that, and the other. They simply ask, you have written 537 papers, supposing we put a delete button on that, will science turn a little left or a little right? I think that is why we must do science which makes a difference. It makes a difference to the society, like what you saw just now in my presentation. It makes a difference. It is not like putting buckets of knowledge in a sea of knowledge. Nobody will notice you. You must create waves. I do hope that this very inspiring trips today will have deliberations by which we will fulfill that dream of Vikasit Bharat that I had projected a little earlier. I want to thank you all for giving me this wonderful program. I was doing the IIT Kanpur for a long, long time. I'm waiting for an invitation. Thank you very much.